Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Alex Cuesta Daily Show. I hope everybody is doing okay on this Friday, May 6th of 2022. We are 2 days away from Mother's Day. I do not record on the weekends, so I would just like to give a shout out right bright and early on the show to all the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day early from the Alex Cuesta Daily Show here. And look at me. I'm here. 5th day of recording in a row. Yay, it can be done. Full week of recording. I haven't done this in forever. I apologize to anybody that listens that I haven't been keeping up with it, but here I am. Maybe I'm back. Maybe this can be done. Who knows? But I am here. We have a lot to get to. I always stack shit up when I really shouldn't, but I do. We have a lot to go, so let's just jump right into it. But before we get into anything fun, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth and go find us on the socials. The Alex Cuesta Show. Go search it. We are everywhere. So let's jump right in. Biden COVID tracker. Yesterday, 81,567,248 cases and 995,083 deaths. As of today, the 6th, we are at 81,685,981 cases, an uptick of 118,733. Deaths, 995,923, an uptick of 840. So we are having a pop in cases. That is factual, that the cases are going up. We have cracked 100,000 again. It was sitting around 70, blah, 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 here and there. And then, boop, we're up over 90 yesterday, close to 120,000 today in cases. Thankfully, deaths have not been following suit yet. I've been saying for a little while, they track about 2 weeks late. We are at a 2-week mark when there was, pretty decent bumps, and we are still seeing every once in a while jumping over 1,000, but mostly numbers under 1,000. Yesterday was only 444 added. Today, only 840 added. I'm not saying it lightly, like, over 1,000 people in 2 days dead is good. But overall, for what this pandemic was, it is still trending in the right direction. We are still not in a pandemic anymore. It is officially over. Joe Biden never had a plan. And if he really did have a plan, it sucked. And they should be making a new one if they thought they could stop this. But they knew they couldn't. They lied to us on election day. And the man has lied so much. And his handlers and the crazy leftists that run this shit have lied a ton. So there it is right there. I'm really going to run past it, though, because I have a lot to get to. I read way too many articles today. I have way too many honorable mentions that are going to get way too many words, and they're going to be more than just honorable mentions. But here we go. Let's jump right into it. One of the articles that I read is from science.org. And it is written by Paul Vusin. Use of too hot climate models exaggerates impacts of global warming. That's not going to make anybody that supports climate change very happy. Now, before anyone sits there and goes, oh, what the fuck is science.org? Who cares? This can't be real. It's not great. Ha. My friends at NewsGuard saved the day. NewsGuard is a very leftist thing. They hate conservative websites and yada, yada, yada. NewsGuard gives this place 100 out of 100. So people, if you are one of these people that's like, check the fact checkers, they would love this website. They go by NewsGuard as well. So in this article, it is not necessarily an attack against climate change. They flat out say climate models are a good thing, a great tool, blah, blah, blah. What they are saying, and these are it's a UN report. UN report authors say researchers should avoid suspect models. So this is coming from the UN. Which I don't trust, I don't like, but it's coming from there and they have clout in this area. What they are saying is that a lot of the models that we have seen over since 2019, I think it cites, but I think even before that, have been citing a bad model, basically. They have been doing what's called model democracy, where they have lumped in every single model in the world up until that point and do an average. And what do we know? If you average out something that is awful, and, if you're trying to get a good average and you're including the high that's bad, the low that's bad, you're not going to get an accurate model, especially if there's a lot of good models and then a few shitty models that are missing the mark high. What are you going to do? You're going to get high numbers. So that's essentially what's going on here, that there's a lot of decent models that don't have too high temperatures happening way too quickly, but they are being pulled down by shitty models that are just trying to fearmonger essentially. And they don't put that in here. They say there's a reason. It's the way they render clouds. They don't think that anything is malicious. I call bullshit on that. I think it's completely malicious. They're being much nicer because I do think that, these are climate scientists that wrote this. They're being critical of those in their own field because they want to keep their field's credibility and they want to avoid incorrect things going out there. And what they are essentially saying is all the fear mongering we've been hearing, all this 2030 bullshit, all this within the next so-and-so years, we need to do this. It's going to be irreversible. Has just been a whole bunch of horse shit. And it's not something we should listen to. They use what's called model democracy. Now, model democracy came from a group called CMIP, Coupled Model Intercomparison Project. They combine all the models of the world, and a lot of places have been using this group's model to cite things and to say and put their basis. And governments have been using these to make climate policy off this stuff. What they recommend in this article is that climate scientists go by the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now, again, anything intergovernmental, I don't trust. I don't trust that name. That's just not, I don't want the government involved in this type of shit. I don't want them out of my life. But apparently they give a more realistic panel to the point where the CMIP model gives it has things going up 0.7 degrees overall. Now, we've been told how much a fraction of a degree matter. They are 0.7 degrees warmer than the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now, why is this a problem? Because the CMIP releases theirs just a little bit before the IPCC releases theirs. So everyone panics over the CMIP model. But then when the IPCC model comes out, they kind of ignore it. And one of the writers in here was an author for the IPCC model and said, hey, we did a bad problem getting this out there. This is the model that people need to be following, not the CMIP. The authors in this article want something that is called model meritocracy, where they take good models and they try and base their science off good models, not models that are too hot that put timestamps on things. Because another thing they say here is governments want timestamps. Politicians want timestamps, like the 2030 number we keep hearing. That's coming from bad models that make things too hot too quickly. And they're saying it's not malicious. I 100% think it's malicious. Let's hear where the too hot models come from, because they identify in the article the places where these too hot models come from that are pushing up the numbers and making the CMIP terrible. They come from the National Center of Atmospheric Research, the U.S. Department of Energy, the United Kingdom Met Office, and the Environment and Climate Change Canada. What a surprise. Now, the National Center of Atmospheric Research, that might sound harmless, right? Wrong. It is federally funded. Let's talk about where the funding comes from this place. And this is from their spot themselves, the National Center of Atmospheric Research, ncar.ucar.edu, and it's who we are funding. They get 67% of their funding from National Science Foundation. They get 3% from the Department of Defense, 3% from the Department of Energy, 4% from the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. They get 4% foreign. I don't know where that's from. 5% NASA, 6% National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, 4% from the university, 2% commercial, and 2% other. The other includes nonprofits, state governments, and other federal agencies, which they did not disclose here. But essentially, this is another government agency that is predicting, and they have skewed models. And I don't think it's not malicious. The U.S. Department of Energy has a reason to make it bad, to make it look bad. So does the UK. So does Canada. They are all about climate change and pushing the narrative on climate change. So there it is. So whenever you hear now climatologists claiming that, oh, we need to do this right now, this is bad, we have to do this. Remember this article. I will link this article. I'm going to link all the articles here that I talked about today. I'm going to link them all to the show. This is a good resource to point back to and say, if they haven't gone to a model meritocracy, if they're still using the CMIP, which overall, and check where these people are getting their stuff from. If they're saying they're using, I think it's a CMIP 6, which is the most current one. If they are basing their findings off the CMIP 6, then it's wrong. Then it's flat out wrong. And they said here, what they should be doing is they should be looking for markers of when the heating hits a certain place, not how long it takes, but when it hits there. So this is a great article. I recommend reading it. They're not necessarily disputing that climate change exists. They're not necessarily disputing that climate change needs to be dealt with, that something should be done. Honestly, you'll be hard pressed to find many conservatives that if you approach them with listen, there's markers that we probably don't want to reach, and we need to figure out how to do it. Maybe not in an extreme way, but we need to start coming together and figuring out what we could do better. I think you would get more of a understanding on both sides. Like, hey, let's work together here. But when you get the fear mongering and when you get the by 2030, we need to change everything about our government and we need to change everything about our industry. We need to change everything about the way we live. A lot of people are going to say, no, fuck yourself. I'm not doing any of that. So this is a good article right here. And, again, pay attention. And again, like I said, 100% NewsGuard. This is a trustworthy website. So go ahead. I will link this article up. You can click on it, read it for yourself. It's a good resource. The next thing that I want to talk about today, Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG. A lot of people hate this woman. She has been on trial in, where's Marjorie Taylor? Wow, I should know where Marjorie Taylor Greene is from. MTG. State rep. Where's she a state rep from? Georgia. She is a Georgia state representative. And she has been coming under fire. She has been put on trial, essentially, to have herself ripped off the ballot and not be able to run for re-election. Now, the Democrats are doing this all over the place. It's not just Marjorie Taylor Greene. The Democrats are doing this on a bunch of places. I read another article where they try and kept two other people off. They got wiped out there. The judge said, no, you can't do this. And one of the things that they're trying to base this off of is all these people that they're accusing is they're saying that they aided in quote unquote insurrection, which has been the biggest peddle and the biggest disinformation and the biggest lie in this country for a long time now. If you want to say that election fraud's a lie, go for it. You could say that all you want. Hasn't been proven. So if it continues to be said, then yeah, sure. You could say it's a lie because there's been nothing proven about it. But if you want to say that January 6th is an insurrection, that's a complete and total lie. You want to call it a riot? You want to call it a tragedy? You want to say it should never happened? Agreed. We're on the same page. You want to call it an insurrection? You want to call it sedition? You're a fucking idiot. There is no other way to put it. It was not an insurrection. It couldn't have been. There was no weapons involved, number one. Number two, most of the people that walked in just kind of walked around aimlessly. And I'm so tired of hearing when they say people trespassed onto there. Fuck you. You can't trespass on the public property. That's government property, especially the people's house there. If they want to walk in, they can walk in, especially when you see police letting them in. They can walk in. There's a lot of sketchy shit with January 6th. It's outside of whether it was a riot, insurrection, whatever. There's a lot of sketchy things that went on in January 6th that make it go much deeper, but I'm not here to jump into a conspiracy theory. But it was not an insurrection. So anyone that pushes that is pushing disinformation. But the big news here is the judge struck down another Democrat attempt to keep a Republican off the ballot. Now, there's something more to this. It's not just about because they think Marjorie Taylor Greene is a bad person, which they do, but it's not about that. It's about trying to keep Republicans that they think are going to win again off the ballot. Why are they doing this? Because it is going to be an absolute slaughter in November. They know that they cannot hold the House. It is damn near impossible unless Biden goes in and just, changes the world, cures it, stops the supply chain issues, brings gas back down, ends the war in Ukraine, helps out Rwanda, puts China back in its place. Unless he does all these things magically before November, there is no way the Democrats are holding the House. There's a good chance that they might lose the Senate. And you're going to see state elections all around the country also turned around on their head because leftism is losing and leftism deserves to lose. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is allowed to stay on the ballot. The judge flat out said that they did not prove anything to say that she aided and abetted in what they claim to be an insurrection. He wouldn't even call it an insurrection. He said what they claim to be an insurrection. He said the closest thing that they came to was an interview that she said tomorrow is going to be our 1776 moment or something or another like that. And he said that's the closest thing, but then we would be infringing in the First Amendment protected political speech. which she also has. She might be a representative of the government, but she still has a First Amendment. So that got thrown away. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be on the ballot. She's going to win again. Thank the Lord she's going to win again. And it's just going to be, and this is going to go around the country, and you're going to see more stories. Be on the lookout if you want to be more stories of judge strikes down, attempt to get this person off the ballot. Judge strikes down this person's attempt to get off the ballot. They're attempting to do this in state after state after state. So it's pathetic. It truly is. And they're a pathetic bunch. What can we say? So November can't come soon enough. Marjorie Taylor Greene is allowed to stay on the ballot. Next little piece that I want to talk to everybody about real quick before we jump into the article that I want to read, which shouldn't take too long, but it's a terrifying article. A piece from Bloomberg. I have it through Yahoo News because I think Bloomberg makes you pay so they can kick rocks. I don't like that places that make you pay. But Bloomberg has an article on bird flu outbreak, nearest worst ever in the United States, with 37 million animals dead. This is generally affecting egg-laying chickens and turkeys. Turkeys and I think they said something about the turkeys that you eat, and also it affects a bunch of things. It does not affect chicken that you eat yet. So there's a chance there, but prices are going up. They're going to keep going up. There's a lot of culling going on. Culling is when something happens and you have to mass kill a bunch of your animals if you're a farmer. The thing that jumped me out here is that really made me kind of cringe and hold back is the way that they are killing these animals. Now, I'm PETA person. I am not I love dogs. I like animals. I'm not against animals. I will always put a human over an animal 100 out of 100 times. I'm not one of those people that is like, oh, my animal, this. My animals are not my kids. I do not play that game. I don't think animals are kids. Animals are animals. Kids are kids. Humans are humans. Animals are animals, period. Animals have rights. Obviously, you shouldn't abuse animals. You're a fucking douchebag if you abuse animals. But I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, because I think people suck so bad, I think animals are better. So I'm going to, no, that's stupid. That is really dumb. But what did stand out to me here is how they kill these animals, because it's fucking terrible. So the way that they mass kill these animals, and we're talking millions of birds at a time in these gigantic farms, the chickens, they put them in a barn in the sunlight, and they basically just turn off the ventilation. They lock them in there, turn off the ventilation, and they just let these animals all suffocate to death. It's absolutely terrible. They let them all suffocate to death. And when it comes to the turkeys, they use a spraying firefighter foam, and it suffocates them. Again, puts them in a barn, sprays these firefighting foam, and suffocates them to death. Now, you might think this is absolutely inhumane. We need to put a stop to this. Oh, no. It is an approved technique by the government. Doing this is approved by the government, and the government foots the bill for killing all these animals, because if it's a disease like this, the government put in safeguards to try and help. They don't put the farmers out for doing this. The farmers are already being put out by having all these birds killed because they're not going to be able to use them to profit. So our dime handles doing this. The government has approved these techniques to murder these animals this way. I get it. You don't want sick animals going out to the public. They are just animals to be, used to consume in the turkey situation. They're hatching eggs in the chicken situation. They are livestock. Livestock is meant to be used as a tool, essentially, to give us subsistence. But man, oh man, just reading the way that they kill them kind of sucks. I don't like that. You don't like. I don't know a better way to do it, because I guess you don't want humans coming in contact and getting avian flu. Apparently, there was a case of avian flu. It's caught in a human. It's not gonna. It doesn't. Apparently, it's not going to be bad, but you don't want that happening. But suffocating, that's a terrible way to kill them, to make them suffocate. I don't know if I can get behind suffocating anything, especially on a mass scale. Man, Man, that sucks. You want, I'll link the Yahoo News article. I don't have anything on Marjorie Taylor Greene. You can go research her. I read a funny article from CNN about it that was supposed to be news, and right away called her a conspiracy theorist, peddling Republican. And I'm like, this isn't news. This is analysis. CNN, get your shit together. Don't let journalists write dumb fucking shit. If you're a copy editor and if you're a main editor, don't put that out there. That's terrible. It's not journalism. Discovery, clean them up more. But just it's a terrible way to kill the birds. The story is by Jia Song, Elizabeth Elkin, and Michael Hertzer. And yeah, I'll give a link to it. It's awful. Not happy about it. When I read that, kind of ruined my night. So let's jump into the article that I want to read to everybody because it is pretty damn terrifying. So right now we're entrenched in still hearing a lot about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and it re-energized a lot of people's notions that Russia is the big bad. You know, when you go back to when Mitt Romney was talking about Russia against Barack Obama, Obama said the 80s wanted their policy back because, you know, he's trying to make fun of Mitt Romney. People got laughs out of it. When Donald Trump talked about Russia tampering with elections, Obama said not possible. Focusing on winning a presidency, you're not going to win. History proved Trump won, and again, mocked about Russia. Now, all of a sudden, Russia's back to being the big bad for some reason, and we have to worry about them. They're the biggest threat, yada, yada, yada. Here, I have just found possibly a bigger threat. And it's fucking terrifying. And of course, it comes from China. The article, Drone Wars, terrifying video shows Chinese super drones hunting humans in packs amid fears they could be primed to kill, by Adrian Zorzut. And this is from The Sun. It's as terrifying as it sounds. Let's read this article here. Terrifying footage has emerged showing Chinese super drones hunting down humans in packs, sparking fears they could soon be primed to kill. The breakthrough achievement has prompted concerns that they could be put to a sinister use. The team from Zhejiang University in China released incredible footage of 10 lightweight drones filmed moving swiftly between trunks, uneven ground, weeds, and tangled branches. And they really do move in a terrifying fashion. Let me tell you, it is absolutely terrifying how they move. And it looks like something out of a sci-fi movie where they are going through trees and they are through uneven ground. No one's crashing. They're not hitting each other. And there was 10 of them in fairly close proximity. And if you've ever worked, if you know machines, I'm not a machine guy, but I do read a lot of this stuff. I love reading about sci-fi tech, all that. It is difficult to get these things done, to make sure that the machines don't run into each other, that they are making sure that things in front of them are, not too close and moving around them. These things are moving at a decent clip, dodging a forest with a lot of woods and uneven ground. Let's keep going. The impressive bit of hardware runs off an algorithm and charts surrounding in real time, meaning it can readjust its flight path in an instant, according to the Telegraph. According to experts, these high-tech drones update every few milliseconds, which means they can avoid colliding with other objects and quickly regroup with others to flight with super efficiency. So there you go. They update every few milliseconds. That's incredible. And machines can do this quickly. So they are constantly looking and taking around their surrounding every few milliseconds. Now, we do it as humans naturally. So as you look around, as I do this show, I'm looking around, taking in my environment, and I'm, all the hues are coming off differently, the colors, the textures that I see, how far something is, how close it is. That's how humans work. I don't know how quick we update. Probably it's pretty instantaneous for the most part. But to do that with drones, it's insane. Let's keep going. And because they don't need GPS signal, they can be easily deployed in areas with poor satellite coverage. That's scary. Experts say that tech will make surveying remote wildlife or hunting for survivors in disaster zones much easier. But in a chilling turn of events, the crew at Zhejiang University also trailed the drones on a man making his way through a cluster of trees. Yeah, that's fucking terrifying, everybody. It was fine when they're just, wildlife or survivors in disaster zones. It can be used for good. And of course, China's got a China. And it's like, let's hunt the person. Let's Dr. Moreau this motherfucker. Let's keep going. The bots were also able to keep focus even when the man hid behind objects to shield himself from the cameras. I got to point out there's a lot of missing words in here. I'm adding words to try and make these sentences legit. There's a lot of missing words in here. I apologize to you, Mr. Sorry, what was your name? Mr. Adrian Zorzut, but your copy editor failed you. Somebody please go help this man. Let's keep going. Addressing the breakthrough in the journal Science Robotics, researchers said the swarm's capability of navigation and coordination in these films has attracted and inspired numerous researchers. Here, we take a step forward to such a future. Dr. Jonathan Aitken from Sheffield University hailed the development, telling New Scientist it was an excellent achievement. Now, honestly, I get it from a scientific perspective. It's an excellent achievement. It's an excellent achievement if it's accomplished by goddamn almost anybody else but China. The last thing we need is China being able to arm these drones that can move on their own, avoid objects, and just come in and fucking kill everybody. Could you imagine if they mass produce like 100,000 of these things and just unleash them in a battle zone? Yeah, you're taking a bunch down probably with your artillery and stuff. But if these things get through and they all start launching little missiles or have like guns and shit on them, they don't care about the loss of this stuff. They're not human. They can come in and do the job first, come in and clear out a group, and then the humans come in and clean up what's left. Don't think China didn't put the university to this, be like, track a human. Let's see if we can fuck somebody up with this. Let's keep going. To achieve a quality map built from a distributed collection of robots, of the detail demonstrated is an excellent piece of engineering. To couple this with the additional successful navigation and avoidance of obstacles, and critically other members of the swarm, is an excellent achievement. And I think this was all by Dr. Jonathan Aitken. It's not the first time China's tech developments have been a cause for concern. Last year, Beijing unveiled a terrifying new war machine that can unleash swarms of suicide drones at troops and tanks. So again, they are fucking with drones, just becoming insane. A clip showed dozens of deadly devices being launched from a weapon system mounted on the back of a truck and also being dropped from helicopters. The China Academy of Electronics and Information Technologies video showed 48 attack weapons being launched with compressed air before using an electric propeller to fly towards and then overwhelm their targets. Now, imagine if instead of making these things suicide things, they unleash them and they have a target and they can avoid obstacles and they can go and eliminate targets. Terrifying. Each carries high explosive charges designed to rip through tanks and annihilate armored vehicles. Paul Scher, former senior Pentagon official and expert in drone warfare, said the clip shows how well China's drone program is progressing. He told the Times, "We can't see from the Chinese video whether your drones are communicating or coordinating with each other. It could just be a launch of drones and a launch of missiles from a multi-launch rocket system. However, the test shows that China is developing swarm drone systems and they could be operational in a few years." And this is only mentioning that the swarm drones that are kind of bombs, not the ones that could think for themselves here. Let's keep going. The drones look similar to China's CH-901 unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, which were first seen in 2018. They can hover in the skies for up to 40 minutes while scouring for a target, according to experts from the Warzone website. All right, and that's the end of the article. 40 minutes is a long time. Now, this is absolutely terrifying. If you are not scared by this, then you may not be scared by anything. Because you have to be scared of China. The Silk Road Initiative has them in almost 200 countries. So they have a piece of 200 countries, basically all of South America, a bunch of Asia, a ton of the Middle East, a few European nations. They're in there. So they're already slinking their way around the world, creating a gigantic sphere of influence through economics. And now they're developing this drone technology, an unbelievable clip. If you don't think this is a national security threat, now I get it. A libertarian is going to say what China does has no bearing on anything about us. If they're not attacking us, leave them alone. This is preparation to become the biggest military power ever. You put tactical nukes on these little motherfuckers, or even in the suicide drones, little tactical nukes in those suicide drones. They are doing an insane amount of damage without any loss of Chinese human life. It is terrible. Now, before we close out the show, because I am this guy, I want you to hear what these things sound like. I don't know if you're familiar with the sound of drones. I haven't been around too many, but I want you to hear what these drones sound like. You would think that China might want to make them silent. And being a silent drone might be terrifying because, they come up, you kind of hear wind, they're behind you, they're shooting you in the face. That would be scary. Hearing this roll up on you in like a form of like a few thousand might be more fucking terrifying. Listen to this nonsense. If do I still have it going? Yeah, I still have it going. Listen to this nonsense here. Yeah, fuck that. Could you imagine 1,000 of those? Your ears would bleed from the sound alone, and then they start shooting you. Yeah, no, I don't want any of that. I don't want to be a part of any of that. This is some weird shit. And honestly, you'll know the test happens when they start enforcing this on their own people. When instead of having police officers to go around the streets and enforce curfews or things like that they're doing in COVID-19, they just send little drones around. All you hear is, and you, as a Chinese citizen, you bolt into your fucking house because you're not allowed to be outside. And you don't want this little drone gunning you down. Like, this is terrifying. China is absolutely terrifying. Japan, where are you? Make a Gundam, like a real one, not your fake one. Make a real one so you can shoot these motherfuckers out of the sky. We need to do something insane here. United States military, I hope you're working on anti-drone technology, because that is where we need to be, because seems like we're getting our ass kicked in the drone war strike. I have not seen our strikes. I know we could do missiles from our drones and stuff like that. We could fly them remotely, but these are drones that can do it on their own. You don't need a human handler. So it's terrifying. China's terrifying. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it as always. Please like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth, and go on the socials to find us, the Alex Questa Show. This episode didn't take half as long as I thought it would, and I'm happy about that, because I had a lot to get through. I said what I need to say, got done before the weekend, 5th show of the week. Proud of myself for that. Hopefully we're going to come back to 5 strong next week. I think I can do it. Again, it's Mother's Day weekend. Be kind to your mothers. Be kind to your mother-in-laws, your grandmothers, your sisters that have children. Any female that has a child is a mother. They are important people of society. And thank them for doing a hard job. Thank them for having kids. Thank them for child rearing, and show them appreciation this weekend. Show them some love. I know I'm going to show my wife, my mom, my mother-in-law, my sister, my cousins, my aunts. They're all going to get love from me because they deserve it, and I love them. And Mother's Day is a good time for us to recognize how hard they work and how great the mothers of our country and the world actually are. All right, everybody. I hope everyone has a good weekend. I will be back on Monday. Talk to everybody later.